Well, hey everybody, welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So this is an intermediate circular knitting machine pattern, something new under the sun, because we're going to use a technique to make the most amazing skunk. It's going to be so soft, so furry. So let me spin it around and show you how cute it is. I always do a little research, so I researched skunks, and they have little pointed noses, round ears, and the most magnificent fur. And so look at that cute little nose. This is the easiest head to make and to shape. Cute little body, and look at that fur. This goes together so quickly. And so I hope that you'll stick around for the tutorial, that you will like, subscribe, and even consider following my channel, because I'm always trying to find a new pattern that is something that we haven't seen before, something that's not too difficult. And this is a really easy project. And I'll take you step by step until we get to the finish. And you also have a skunk. And I'm naming this after my great-granddaughter that's still in the mummy's tummy. And this is Juniper. So meet Juniper, my latest creation. And Mommy said she'd be honored for her daughter to have a skunk named after her. And also the piggy bank, the Delilah Rain piggy bank, is also named after my great-granddaughter. So follow along and let's make a skunk that is absolutely magnificent. God bless you and thank you for watching. And so let's start with the body tube. So I've already cranked it out on your 46 or 48 pin circular knitting machine. And this is 85 rows. And I wanted to tell you that I'm using from Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn. And that it's just black, but it's so soft and fun to work with. Goes through the machine so easily, and it's 355 yards. I have this much left, and I did not crank the tail out using this yarn. I'm going to use it to do the ears, which I haven't cranked out yet. But because it's black, I was able to just use another black yarn that I had for the tail. So bear that in mind, that if you have one of those smaller skeins, you might need to use some other black that is a good match to whatever you're using. And another trick is, if you have some really nice, beautiful yarn, you could go a little over halfway with your really nice yarn and then maybe put on a black Red Heart Super Save or something that you can crank out. If you tuck a stitch, it'll go up inside, and you could save a lot of yarn that way. So those are some options. But this is 85 rows, and then we're going to need 4 little feet. So I've already folded these in half and made them into little beanies. So you're going to need 4 of these, and each of the legs is on the 22 pin, and it's 40 rows. So I know this is black and it's hard to work with and see, but the skunk needs to be black, and we're just making little beanies. So fold it in half, tie about 3 knots in it, snip it off, fold it in half to make those yarn tails go up inside, and then save that yarn to sew with when we attach the legs. So now we have our 85 row body, and let's just treat it like a beanie and fold it in half. And instead of closing it up all the way, close it up around maybe 3 or 4 fingers. And we do this so we can add stuffing right up until the moment we put the tail on and call it done. So I have 3 fingers in here. I can then poke stuffing in if I need to make my body a little firmer. And so with one of these long strands of yarn that you cut off, let's go ahead and put the line in through here that we can pull this snug with also. Hard to show it on this black yarn, but when you put your yarn through, let me get up closer to the camera, you'll go under 2 rows, and it's just the 2 loops that make a row. Skip a row, come under the next one until you've gone all the way around. really simple, I'll do that off camera. Okay, so what I've done is when I put my yarn here to draw it up, I tied a bow. So I have a pretty nice size opening. On this side, this is the cast on, cast off, and I'm stuffing from both ends. And what I'm going for is a long stretched out tube, not a big fat round. So as I'm stuffing, I'm pulling it this way and controlling the shape so that we have a long skunk rather than a short squatty one, because we have to put our legs on. So I did the same thing with the top of each of these legs. This one I haven't done yet. I put a little stuffing in it just to get the shape, and then I'm going over, under, just closing it up. I want it firm enough to support the skunk. So go ahead and get your legs ready, get them stuffed out, get your draw cord, get your body stuffed so that you're controlling it and it's shaped more like a long tube instead of a fat circle, because it could go either way depending on how you put your stuffing in. And then as I'm getting it onto the end here that is the cast on cast off row, I'll just snug it up just a little bit more, but not just completely tight, in case when I'm getting ready to put the head on I need to push a little more stuffing up there, or when I'm putting the tail on. So I'm giving myself options. So when I come back, we're going to have our legs done and ready to sew on the body. Our body will be stuffed out and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've prepared all the little feet. I've cinched them up, and you really don't have to get it really, really tight on this end. Tied a knot. And now when we place our feet on, and I know it's black, it makes it so hard to tell, so just work with it like tummy up. We're going to come in maybe, because we're going to be closing this up, it's going to be drawing it down. So come up maybe, if you blade from the very, very end, 3 fingers on, position your foot like that. And they're going to pretty much be touching. So as we sew them on, we're just going to sew all the way around. I like to sew back in here a couple stitches back so I have a platform against the body, and I'm not just sewing around this little circle. So come back so you have more stitches onto your body. So we'll do 1, 2, then remember that you're cinching this up, so just allow a little space there, 3 and 4, and then we can stand our little guy up and talk about the head. So I'm going to go ahead and sew around, and I apologize for it being black, but it's going to make the cutest little skunk. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back on, and I have all 4 legs sewn on. And I know it's so hard to see with the black, but sew your first one on, sew the one next to it, and then before you sew on the ones opposite, follow your row so that you can keep them lined up. And, and you'll have a nice straight little body that way. Go around once, and then go around a second time. And when I go around the second time, I'm coming a little further up to get more of a base. So I don't want to be sewing right where I've cinched it up. I'm back a little bit the first time, and the second time maybe even back a little bit more. It'll give you a nice sturdy body that's going to stand and support our little skunk. And if you think that you have enough stuffing in it, you might want to, now that it's standing, put a little more in each end. Go ahead and this is my end that I tied a bow in, so I'm going to stuff just a little more up in the butt to round it off just a tad bit more, and then I'm going to go ahead and close that up, and if I need to, I'll take a stitch or 2 and bury my yarn tails. So I'm just taking just a few little tufts and just rounding this butt up just a little bit. And it'll make it a little bit more secure when we are sewing on our head and our tail. So just right here on the end, just so it's a little, just so I know that I have enough in there, I'm going to go ahead and pull this shut. And instead of tying a bow this time, when I get it pretty closed, I'm going to tie a knot and then take a couple stitches, knot it again, and bury my yarn tails. This is the cast on, cast off end of my tube, and I'm making that the front. So what I'm doing before I close it up, I'm just putting a little more stuffing in here to support the neck, and even raising it up just a tiny bit, and then I can sew my head on up here. So I want to make sure it's nice and secure so I don't have a head that's flopping. I don't want to distort the shape of the body, but I do want to make this a little firmer up here. And you'll be surprised at how much more you can get in. Just keep it long and narrow. Don't be getting it all fat unless you just want a really chubby skunk. But that's how I'm going to finish mine up. Then when I get it nice and firm up here where I'm going to sew the head on, I'm going to go ahead and pull this shut. If I need to, take a few stitches. Because this is our cast on, cast off, once I snug it up, I'm actually going to go around my row again before I call it done, so that I have another strand of yarn going through here just to secure it. So I'm just trying to get a little more light on the project. But so this is what your body will look like. This is where we just stuffed it up a little bit higher because we're going to put the head there. We have sturdy little legs. It stands really well. It's just should look about like this. So we're going to need our tail tube, and on your 46 or 48 pin, do 35 rows. And because I want my tail to kind of curve a little bit, I've used a Red Heart Super Saver. It's not as soft and luxurious as I love this yarn. And I feel that it's going to hold the shape a little better. I think it's just a matter of preference. And also, I showed you at the beginning how little yarn I had left from that one skein that I had. And this helps stretch my yarn. So with my 35 rows, I'm going to bring it together. And if you did drop or tuck a stitch, make sure it goes to the inside. And I'm going to mattress stitch it closed because I want my tail to be fat and a little flat, so that when we put the beautiful white fur that comes down the body and wraps up the tail, we have room for that. So fold it in half, leave your ends, you take the slack out from where we cast on and cast off where it's really loopy. Just snug that up a little bit on each end, and then you can actually come to where your yarn comes out and use that to sew up. Just make sure you put a little knot in so you're not distorting anything. We'll just mattress stitch it 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars. When we get to the end, then we'll give that tail a curve. I will be right back. Alrighty, so I've mattress stitched all the way up, and get that last couple stitches up here too, so you're right up to where you're casting on and casting off. Needle still threaded up, and so at this point, this is where I'm going to, first of all, really snug this mattress stitch up. And then when it's snugged all the way up to the top, I can start pulling it and getting this tail to start curving. See that curve coming on? Like this. And then when I sew it on, I can kind of play with that curve a little bit so that it's going to be curving up over the top of my body like this. And we're going to also put some stuffing in here to give it a little bit more shape. Okay, so I have this stuffed up just enough so that it's, so that it's nice looking, but not beanie tight. And I'm going to go ahead and, with the curve in here from my mattress stitch yarn that I've just pulled to snug that tail and make a curve up, I'm going to tie these two ends together in a knot. And go ahead and whip stitch the end closed, because this is our bigger end, and if we're going to put the stuffing in, we can just put it in from this end. So I'm going to just close up this little circle here, just a few stitches. Nothing fancy, just making sure that we don't have an open hole there. Just to make sure I have that hole completely closed. on both sides of where I mattress stitched. And I'm going to tie it in a knot again. I'm trying to keep my yarn tail long so I can sew with it. But I'm going to bury, well, I guess I'll leave this one out because I love to have something to tie off to, but I'm going to shorten it. Okay, working it in. Getting a little bit down in here in the tail part. This is where I'm going to be sewing it on, so I really don't want that stuffed out very much. Getting there. I've looked at a lot of skunk pictures, and they do have fat little tails with really long white fur on them. They're so pretty. Okay, so I have now, if you can see about how fat that is. So I am going to close this end up, just whip stitching through my tube here. Get all the way over and tie it off. I'll have a kind of a fat little tail coming up. So here we have it. So I'm just going to go ahead and knot this off and bury both yarn tails. But let's take our tail, and right here is where we cinched it up. So we want to hide that circle there. So let's just go right to the very bottom of it. Let our tail arch up over our back like this, and let's sew around, come up the side a bit. When we get up closer to up on top of the back, let's be sewing like right up in here onto the back so that we're controlling how it sits. So you're going to be sewing around this way, a little up the side, a little across the top here, and then you'll have a tail that looks about like this. It'll be kind of arching forward. It'll be cute. It's already coming together and looking so adorable. So like I like to always start it this way. I'm going to put it over where I want to sew. I have and my other yarn tail hanging here to tie off to at the end. I'm right below the circle where we cinched it, and I just want to tie these two yarn tails together, and that's going to hold it together while I sew around. While I sew around up onto the back just a little bit to keep that tail up. So I'll be back on in a minute, and we'll see how our tail looks. Okay, so that worked out really well. And the fact that we're coming up this way on both sides is keeping that tail up. It has just that little gentle curve forward. It's going to do really well when we put the white fur up here. I think it's going to look adorable. And so now we really can think about doing our head. I'm going to go ahead and set the body off to the side. So our head tube is 50 rows of black, and I'm just going to turn it in half like we're making a beanie. And I always research my animals before I make them. I look up lots of pictures. I'll say, what does a skunk ears look like? I try to, figure it out before I start cranking out the tubes. And the skunk has very small round ears and a triangular head. And we are going to use this tube, and this is on our 46-48 pin, 50 rows, to make the head look triangular instead of rounded, which could still be adorable and be more cartoon-like. But on this end where we folded it up, we're just going to take out all the slack. I'll leave like maybe 3-finger opening and snug it up around my 3 fingers. I'm going to go ahead and just tie a bow right here for now. Shorten these down. They're way too long. And then I'll come back and finish snugging these up in a minute. Okay, so we need to think about getting our long, narrow nose. Make this a little easier and to kind of see how the shape is going to go. And we have to still put our eyes on. So we're just dealing with just closing up our nose. So I'm laying it down, and this is going to be against the body. Laying it down, putting a little stuffing in it, and making it squatty, like a kind of like a little teapot, so that I can imagine mattress stitching this closed and getting my little nose shape. And then as we stuff it, we can bring it up to get the forehead. So let's get started mattress stitching. I'm going to tell you how many stitches I take. I'm going to go off camera, sew it, but the way I'm going to count it is I'm going to have my point here, and they actually have kind of a brownish little nose, so we'll do that at the end. I'm going to go under 2 bars, and I'm going to count it 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. Okay, so I've gone 20, 20, 19, 20, 19, 20. And of course, that gets us about halfway up. And so now I have a little pointed nose, and their nose is kind of pointed. And they have beady little black eyes, but that's not going to show up on this black. So I'm going to use I think these are 26 millimeter. So these eyes I ordered off Amazon have a little millimeter guide, and it fits right into the 25. So they're 25 or 26 millimeter. You could go any size you want. Remember, skunks have beady little eyes. So I'm just making mine a little bigger so they'll show. And we also want to remember that we're going to have white coming up here. Then it's going to come around, it's going to come down our body, go up our tail. It's going to be our white fur. So we don't want the eyes too close together so that we can get our white in here. So I'm going to say we'll leave at least an inch. So I'm going to drop an eye right about here. And just see if I like this size. If not, I'm going to back this video up and try a different eye. The power of editing. Okay, so I think maybe I can go with that because the black part is kind of small, but it's got the sparkle around it to just make that pop out a little bit. And so that gives me an inch in between my eyes. I'm going to come down one more here so I can have my white coming up. I think that's important to have that there. And I have my little Amazon tool that I love because I struggle so much trying to put these big eyes on. I don't have a problem with the smaller ones, but these I do. Okay, before I got back on the camera, I held the tip of my nose and I really secured this mattress stitch up so that it was snug. And now I can, there's a hole in one end here. So you put that one on the post. And I really didn't think this was going to work very good. I was suspicious, but I struggle so hard putting these big eyes on that I go off camera and come back on exhausted. But it just, you can just hear it suck it right up. To me, it's like a miracle because I don't have very strong hands. So I'm so glad I bought that tool. I'll give you a link to it, completely optional. But for me, it's a game changer. You can hear that snap on there. All right, that's my tool. And here's my eyes. They look beady to me. Okay, and so then we can finish stuffing and shaping this head somewhat. And let's just put it up on the body and see how cute that looks. It's adorable. It's a good way to make a nice little narrow nose, but we want to make sure we have enough stuffing in there that we can put its nose on later. We don't want it to just be loose. So let's adjust our stuffing, get our little pointed nose going. I'll show you a skunk picture that I'm using. I don't know where I got it, but it's, can you see that? So we want the white. We're going to have long fur coming like this and wrapping around that tail. Alrighty, so I'm going to work on the shape of my nose here. and get the top coming up. Then we can have we'll do our little ears in a minute. So now, right now, I'm just stuffing it out, keeping a flat base right here. So now that I've got my shape going, I'm going to go ahead and cinch this up a little more and tie it off. It's totally not going to show. And I know I need a different yarn to sew with this. These aren't long enough, so I'll just stuff them up inside there and get this adorable little pointed nose shape going. I think it would work pretty good for a poodle or one of those dogs with the long, narrow snouts. Okay, so I've got it stuffed out, pretty well so I can see my shape. I have enough down in the nose now to sturdy that up. I'm keeping it flat this way so I can sew it up against my body. And now I'm just going to start picking up my rows again and sewing up a little more towards the top because we wanted to get our eyes in, and we've accomplished that. And when I say 2 bars, it's not a true mattress stitch because of the way we're doing it. It's the row. It's the 2 loops that make each row. And I'm just going to go ahead and work my way up. And before I close it up, I'll do a final look and make sure that I like the shape of the head. And snugging as I go, I can kind of see what I'm getting here. And you can see how I can just, by stuffing it, just raise up that top of the head a little bit, not a whole bunch. Coming up. And that's my shape. When I put it on, it's going to be really cute. And when we put all that fur on there, we're going to close this up and get rid of that point there. So let's just keep coming around and snugging as we go. Okay, so I have my shape right here, and just so I don't distort it, and this will be up in the ears and the fur, I'm going to put a knot right here because now I've only got an opening here that I can put about 3 fingers in. I'm going to go around it and then close it up like this to round that head off. So I'm just going to do this like it's the top of the beanie, just going under the loops. Not even counting, just getting under them and coming back around to the front here. And then I can just pull on this and it's going to close that up and keep that rounded off right there. And I'm going to go ahead and knot that off. And leave my yarn tail there. I might need it for later. Okay, here's my cute little pointed nose head. Be back in a minute because we have to make ears. And I haven't made my ears yet, so I'm going to crank them out and then I'll show you how we're going to put the ears on and all that beautiful fur that's going to finish this cute, cute little animal that went together super, super fast. Okay, so on the 22 pin, I cranked these 2 little ears out really quick. 5 rows of white, 6 rows of the black, so that the black is what we see along the edge here. Just cinched it up. So what I did, here's one I haven't finished yet. I tied this in a triple knot, and that's going to the inside of the ear, so I just cut it off kind of short. And find my yarn tail here for the white and start closing it up. Nice and neat. Before I get that hole closed all the way up, take it to the inside. Start closing up the black. Okay, make it go round. And I want to get this white cinched up really snug on this side so I don't have to go back in and try to start taking stitches. So get it nice and snug. Get this black nice and snug. Take a look at the white side to make sure it's all the way together and then tie a knot. Getting everything closed up, and these are our cute little ears. And we can sew with our black yarn tail. So here they are, 2 cute little round ears. And I wanted them to have the white insides to kind of, so they don't just disappear, and it'll kind of play off the white yarn that white fur we're going to use. So let's sew our head on, and then we'll position our ears. So here's just so hard to see. Tail back here, here's the front, here's our little head. And we're going to position it like this. With that nose projected forward, we're going to be sewing here, 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 so that our head is nice and secure. Coming around, we'll have our little pointed nose. Coming back up onto the back. Go around twice and you'll get a really secure head. So because it's black and you can't see what I'm doing, I'll get started with you and then sew off camera and come back on and see how it looks. So you'll remember that we never did, we tied this off, but we left it open a little bit because it was going to help us sew. But this is also your last chance to add a little stuffing and fine tune the shape of the head. And this is always beneficial because you can like get it rounded out where you're going to be sewing. If you think you need to have a little more stuffing up into the head, or you want to shape it a little bit different, that opening at the bottom there is what's going to allow you to do that. So I'm just putting just a little bit more in and kind of pushing it up where I'm going to be sewing up into this part, right in here, just to make it a little bit more secure when I sew, that I have a sturdy little head. So I'm making myself a base right here. Just like that. And I'm going to, I already have a needle threaded up if I can find it. I guess I lost it somewhere along the way. Let me find it again and we'll get started sewing this on. Okay, so to make it a little easier to sew on, let's take the yarn we're going to sew with. We're right up in the front center here. Let's just tie a little knot, leave ourselves a yarn tail to hide later. And then position it up on the body. So have your little guys or little gal standing up. Position that head. I want mine to be like this. I don't want the head to be looking down at the ground. I want it up and perky. So then I'm going to, once I find out where I'm going to position it, and if you did yours the way I did mine, this is the part that we went over, under, over, under. I had stuffed mine out, so I have a nice little fat chest here. So I'm just going to come in to my body here, so my head is up, and tie this into a little knot. It's going to want to flop over, but this is going to hold it into position while we finish sewing around. So let's just get that back up here. I'm going to lay it down and get it knotted. And then I can sew around, and I'll probably go around twice, sewing a little bit up away from that cast off, cast on that we left open around 3 fingers. Controlling my head so I know I want it just a little bit forward. Like this. This would make an adorable black cat. Okay, so I'm going to just start sewing around twice, and when I get done, I'll come back on camera. All right, I went around twice, and I have a nice sturdy little head, a sturdy little tail, sturdy feet, a pretty sturdy little creature here. And now we have our ears, our little round ears. And let's go ahead and put those on, and then we'll add our fur. I went ahead and buried the white yarn tail on each of the ears, And then I'm just going to take my black down to the edge here, and I don't want it to distort while I'm sewing. So I'm going to tie a little knot here just to stabilize it on both of them, and then hold them up on my skunk and position them, because we're going to have some really phenomenal fur up there. But I want these to just be nestled in the fur. So I'm going to just kind of line it up with the eye, just, kind of like straight back with the eye, and go around a couple times. Make sure I have enough of it onto the head that it's secure, and put the other one on, just visually lining it up above that eye. So it's like this. And when we come back on, we're going to need our glue gun hot. So I went to Walmart and bought a Mainstays pillow. And not only did it have beautiful soft fur on it, was very inexpensive. I loved the stuffing because for some reason it was brown. And when I did a dark animal, I had a lot of stuffing that I would use in the darker colors that made me happy, because you never had to worry about any of the stuffing showing through. Okay, so I have my little guy ready to go, and let me show you the pillow that I bought. It's just a square, the most beautiful feeling fur. And I'm going to go outside and do this because I know as I'm cutting it that it's going to make a lot of fiber going all through my RV, and I just vacuumed this morning. So I'll just hold it up on here, and you can see that we're going to glue it on, but as we put it up on here, it is just going to be the most glorious, beautiful feeling. We can't do it with fur yarn. It's just not long enough and soft enough. So I'm going to go cut my backing so that when I come back in, I just have my fur, and the backing to the pillow is off of it. Now you can also go to Hobby Lobby, any of the craft stores that have the beautiful furs, and just go buy an 1/8 of a yard. They might make you get a 1/4 yard, but you can use it on a lot of different projects, and you might, after we make our skunk, decide that you can use it on a lot of different projects. All right, I will be back in a minute. Oh my gosh, go outside and do this because it is just snowing fur out there now. But what I did is I took my little pillow that was maybe 12 or 14 by 14, and I took a magic marker out there so that I could measure 2.5 inches. And when I cut it, instead of cutting on the top through the fur, I turned it over and just ran my little sharp scissors right into the fabric and snipped, and then pulled it apart. Then take your hand and just, like do this, shake it, go down this way, and you'll see all that fur flying. The fur was flying. But now with my glue gun heated up, and we'll have to, get the lint off of our little skunk when we're done. We can drape this. I have 3 of these because I know it's not quite long enough to go all the way up my tail. But that's going to give me my really cute little, let me get my picture out. Okay, now see in the picture how it has a lot of fur right up on the top of its head and behind its ears, coming down its back, up around its tail. And that's the look that we're going for. But this is just so adorable. We cannot do this with fur yarn. I look and look and look to see if I can find somebody that makes a fur yarn that's got a little longer pile on it. Look at this. So let's just get started. Take this one off. Let's get it in position. Put a little glue on our back of our fur here, and kind of a little point coming down. Just a little bit of a point coming down. So when you position it and you're going over, when we do this one, it'll bring it together with a really, really furry little top knot there. So we want the edge of our fur to be going straight back through the center here. So let me get a little bit more glue. And then bring the second one up. Pull the fur back. And the fur does seem to have a little bit of a way that it wants to go. So I have mine kind of going back this way. So now I'm going to just roll this back, put a little bit of glue back, a little bit back from the edge, and line it up right up against that one. And there we go. Oh, look at that. Okay, and let's be working it down. And if you look at some pictures, you'll know that we're going to just bring it to the neck, then curve it back, and then come up onto the tail. We'll have to get a third piece to come around the top. All right. So I'm going to now bring this back around the ear. So now I'm going to put it on the glue onto my project, lining it up behind the ear, and bring my fur, just patting it down into there. And my fur is actually kind of wrapping up on my ear a little bit, holding it into place. Going to work from side to side. So now I'm going to put my glue coming up this ear, all the way up to the top here. Roll that up onto the ear a little bit. That is getting to be the cutest little head. I love it. Love it. Okay, so now let's get the back of it. This time I'm putting it up on the fur because I don't know exactly where it's going to hit the head. All right. Patting it down. Get this one. And pat it down. This is working even better than I thought it would, but as good as I hoped it would. Okay, so now I want to get it secured all the way into the neckline. So I'm going to just visually say that I need to get it to there. Okay, patting it down into the neck. I think you got the idea now. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Measure it visually that I know that I need to go about right to there. Just put my finger there to mark it. And put my glue. I'm keeping it at least 1/8 of an inch or so back from the edge of my fur. Just coming straight down with it, patting it in place. And then if you look at the skunk picture, let's bring it up one more time. We need to have it coming across the back and then up onto the tail. I already know mine isn't quite long enough. So I can actually shape this very easily. So I'm going to do that by putting the glue. I'm going to get a paper towel so I can clean off the tip here periodically and get that loose fur off. Okay, so I want it to go back to where lined up here where we sewed our tail coming up. I want it to curve that direction, so I know that I'm going to come right like this. So I'm going to start laying my glue down on my fur. And gently curving it back where I want it to go. Just like that. This is so easy. All right, let's do the other side. And then what we'll do before we call it done is we'll just roll this back and fine tune this edge here with the glue gun. Okay, so I know I want to come at the same spot on both sides. So I'm measuring it with my finger right about to here. And I'm going to start laying down my bead of glue real quick. I know I'm going to come back and add more. Oops, I actually ran out of glue. It's going quick. Okay, so I'll add it in a minute. Oh, put another stick in there. I didn't want this to dry up on here. Okay, we're getting a skunk. A really cute skunk. All right, so you got the idea. So when I get it right up onto the tail, I'm just going to gently curve it up, add my third piece on. We can do that together in a minute. And come right up over the tip like this and get that really, really beautiful, adorable furry tail. All right, I'm on my third glue stick. I have it secured to the tail. Right back to here is glued, and I actually put a little glue going this direction so I could come right up on the tail. And now I'm going to fine tune it, and you don't want to use too much glue. You don't want it to come out onto your project. So I'm just going to roll it back a little bit and come right along the edge here with a real thin bead and pat it down. Just work my way around slowly and pat it down. Not getting it on the fur. I'm keeping it on the backing to the fur. And I'll do the same thing on the underside. And when I come back on, we'll go over the tail. Okay, so I fine-tuned my edges. It was really easy to do. And now I'm going to bring this fur right up underneath the butt and to the center. I want as much fur on it as I can get, and just kind of bringing it down. Doing the same thing with this one, just going to bring it over. I'll have to trim it. It's going to be a little bit too long. Pull your fur back and work your way over till you meet that fur. Going through the glue sticks really quick, so I'll be starting glue stick number 4 in a minute. And I'll trim this off in a minute. So now I have my last piece, and I'm going to let it just actually curve around, bring it right down onto this fur here on the side of the body. And let it just come right onto it on the edge here. So let me get another glue stick. Took more than I thought it would. Okay, so here's how we're finishing it up. I went ahead and secured this and glued it. Brush your fur down so you can come right up to it, and you can't really even hardly see that there's a seam there. Bring it up over your tail. I brought it down on this side and glued this side down and trimmed it off. And here's the little piece I trimmed off right here. And I will go outside and brush this. I went ahead and snipped this little extra long piece off that was under the tail. And now that I have it secured on each side of the tail, with it curving around, I'm going to just keep pulling it back and running a small little bead of glue right on the edge where it's actually the fabric, just patting it down. And we are going to have a really cute little furry skunk body here. So I'll be back in a minute. And I think it's going to take about 5 or 6 glue sticks, of the short ones. All right, I have the back of the tail done, and it was really easy just to put a bead of glue and then just bring it around the curve. Very forgiving. So I'm going to do the same thing to the inside, and then before we call it done, we always want to go back and make sure we don't have any loose edges. Like right here, it definitely has to be glued down. I'll go all the way around the edges of my fur. I'm going to come and do the top part of the tail, and we want to have the little white blaze going down between its eyes, so I think I can just use one of my little pieces that I cut off. Remember we made it at least an inch apart, so we don't want the big wide one like this. And the fur is coming down. It's naturally going this way, so I want it to go that way. That's how I want to cut it. So I'm going to just making a mess in my house now. Cut this about an inch wide. And you can see how much comes out if you're outside. You'll see how it'll come off like this. And you can get rid of a lot of that if you're doing it outside. So we can bring it right up between the eyelids where we have these two coming together. And I actually see where I want to put a little bit more glue right here. Just a little dot. Clean up the tip again. Make sure we don't have it too wide. Okay, on our picture, that fur is going all the way down to the tip of the nose. And so is our fur right here. And the reason I wanted to put the nose on last is because I want to nestle it right up into where that fur is. Okay, so I'm going to start by just attaching it right at the top here. So I can get it positioned right into the center. And because this is so narrow, and I said I was going to measure it, I need my glasses. It is about 3/4 of an inch. So this time, once I get it anchored, I'm going to put the bead of glue on my skunk, because this is so narrow. Just run it right down in between its eyes, all the way to the tip. Being careful not to go too far. Okay. And my little pom-pom can go right on the tip here. And what I like to do with my pom-poms, so they sit down better, is find the part that I think is not the nicest looking part of the pom-pom and just do this and make it flat on one end. And you can do that with these little pom-poms. And then that's the part I'm going to glue right onto the end of its nose with a minimal amount of glue. Pull that little fur up and position this little nose right on the tip here. As cute as it can be. And here is our adorable little skunk. I can't get my camera any further away to let it show really well, so I'll try to show you at the beginning. And I'm going to let that fur stay long and come up over the tip of its brown little nose like that. Just like that. Okay, and now that I have my nose on and I have that one little bead of glue here, I'm going to just pull my little edge up here and go along the edge very lightly on both sides so that it's really down just right at the edge of that fabric. Doesn't take much glue at all. Always less is best. You can add, but you can't take it away. Okay, so before you call your fur done, just take one more little peek all the way around. I'm going to defur it. I'm going to take it outside, brush it off, get the all the lint and stuff off of the black part of the body. And I want to thank you for watching the tutorial, for coming along for the project, because this is so different. I don't think I've seen anything like this on a tutorial, and I'm always looking for something different, just to stretch your imagination, to let you know that you can go outside the box and do things that, may be a little bit unconventional. This feels really, really good. I think it would make some child just very, very happy to get such an adorable little skunk. And maybe you'll want to give it yours a little collar, little adornment, maybe a little red heart right up on the chest. Something to, make it even more special for your child, your grandchild, your great grandchild, or some child that you're making it for that you don't even know who it is yet. All right. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll like, subscribe, that you'll watch my tutorials, that you'll follow Stand Up Your Tubes. And if by typing in Stand Up Your Tubes you don't get to the channel, just add the word circular and it'll take you right there to the channel. I think I'm going to have this in the playlist for fur because it's fur and mythical creatures. Who knows? But thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate your support, that you're helping my channel grow. And I can't do it without you. And I want to thank all the Facebook knitting sites that let me post my creatures so that you know that they even exist. So I want to thank every single Facebook knitting site that's allowed me to post. God bless you, and I'll see you for the next tutorial.